We're at day 3 at InfoComm 2013 in Orlando, and I'm in this Servoreeler booth. Servoreeler?
Servoreeler.
There you go. It's kind of hard for me to say because I'm from North Carolina.
Sometimes I have a problem with it.
Yeah, well, you're the founder of the company. I'm here with Claude. You're going to have to pronounce your last name.
Claude Karczmer.
Karczmer, okay. Claude Karczmer, and he's the founder of this company, and you have a really interesting story. So what were you doing, and then all of a sudden you got a phone call from the government?
Well, we've been in business since 1972, but in 1994 I have a friend, his name is Ray Rayburn, who worked for Joyner Consulting. They were doing a project for the U.S. Senate, renovating their sound system and their audiovisual system. It was quite an extensive renovation, and they needed a mechanism to deploy and retract the microphones that the senators use. And there was nothing around that could do it. They tried coil cords, they tried different solutions that weren't acceptable. And after a couple of years, after trying everything else, he mentioned my name to his boss and said, maybe this crazy guy in New York might come up with something. And we used to work together when he was in New York. So he gave me a call, and he said, he gave me the problem, and he said, if you can come up with a solution, you could do the U.S. Senate. So it was a little daunting, you know. Of course, you want to be able to do that. So we did a little bit of R&D and came up with some designs, and eventually I built a prototype, drove down to D.C. and met with the architect of the Capitol and some technical people, demonstrated the unit, and it was accepted. And ultimately we built the 110 or so units for them, unbeknownst to them in our basement, because we were just starting out with this sort of thing. And the system worked really well, and we were a little nervous about it at first because it was the first application of this sort of technology. And we actually redid the project in 2006 because we needed to include a microphone that was RF resistant because of BlackBerry interference and so on like that. Nothing really to do with our mechanisms. And that's this unit here. And there are 100 of these installed at the Senate now. And they've held up quite well. And these are the microphones that they use, which have the Audio-Technica microphone components and our microphone body and mechanism. And they seem to be happy with it. We get very few repairs, usually because of a cable damage issue. A senator will sometimes close a drawer on a cable or something like that.
Well, and that's bloomed into a business of microphones that come out of ceilings and all sorts of other contraptions.
Right. The technology that we employed in here, typically when you have a mechanism that stores a cable on a storage reel and you have rotation, you would need some kind of slip ring arrangement or a contact arrangement to transmit the signal from the rotating member to the stationary output. Well, we have a patented design where the cable is actually one continuous length through the mechanism, and you can see this is the output here, and this is the other end, which comes out of the mechanism uncut. Now that was an important element in the requirement, because modern microphones, especially microphones that are phantom powered, that is, they have a DC power on the same line as the audio. If there were any slip rings or any contacts, it would create some noise. So that was an important part of the design requirement. And so what we've done is apply that same technology to these other mechanisms with a different drive system so that a microphone can be deployed from heights and supported in place.
You actually have one coming out of the ceiling of the convention center here, hanging all the way down approximately 40 feet from the ceiling in the convention center.
That's right, and what this does is it saves a lot of labor time. You can imagine in a concert hall with multiple microphones, you would have to send a technician up to reposition microphones physically, whereas this now can be done by remote control. And not only does it save labor time, but also safety issues. A lot of these areas where microphones are being deployed from are quite dangerous. There are areas you can't step on. It's very hot. their low headroom and that sort of thing. So it's a real advantage to be able to do that. And if you can see, we did a large project for a major concert hall in Nashville, the Laura Turner Hall. And they have 36 of these mechanisms installed. And obviously it would be a tremendous job to have to climb up there and pull all of those cables if you wanted to pull or release cables if you wanted to reposition the microphones, whereas they can go out on the stage and plug the remote control in and manipulate any of those microphones to whatever level they need, and it saves an awful lot of time.
Well, how do we find out more information on your products? What is your web address?
Well, our website is servoreelers.com, and we have a fair amount of information on the website, although it's always a work in progress, as most websites are. And you can always contact us directly or email us at srsystems@servoreelers.com and ask any questions that you might have for an application that might be different from the ones you see.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time. It's an interesting story about how you got into this. Congratulations on your success. And we're going to keep walking around the show floor today and finding other unique stories like this about other unique and other unique products that you may not have seen on your own. This is Gary Kayye. We're still at Infocom on day 3.